Show people that there really isn't much to fear in terms of coming out and having fun.
I think it's time. Really, I think it's time.
While many of us were sleeping, this was the scene at a King West restaurant early this morning. And it isn't just patios coming out of their forced hibernation. Today, malls also opened their doors for the first time in months. It took Toronto and Peel a little longer than the rest of the province, but today we finally passed another milestone and officially entered stage 2 of reopening. Chris Glover is live tonight at an open patio on King West, but Chris, not all patios are open yet.
No, in fact, as I was walking along King Street alone, several of the places here, popular places that normally have patios running, those are not open. Of course, this one, Ruby Soho, a new patio on King Street. It is certainly open tonight, and a lot of folks that I've been speaking with said that they are grateful for it. As the clock struck 12:01,
to a night we'll never forget.
Drinks flowed on Toronto patios as if it were a holiday.
Honestly, tonight it felt like we were waiting for New Year's. I've never been on time for a party or an event, and I'm excited and happy to be here.
The first thing on our mind is just to come, and this is our spot.
Kareem Gatia had originally planned to stay away from his spot on College Street for another month.
And funny, we switched our mind from a month to immediately we said, no, that's it. We had it. We need to try to go back to our normal life.
Feels kind of normal, you know? Usually there's not a TV broadcaster here, but other than that, it feels real normal.
But dining in Toronto still isn't quite normal. Nothing inside and a mandatory 2 meters between tables.
The restrictions are needed because of the virus, but you know, we're right now set up on our patio for just about half, and it'd be about 30% of our total capacity.
Toronto's mayor laughed with patrons at one of Toronto's most famous rooftop patios, also allowed to open. At Hemingway's, plexiglass dividers are up and no standing zones are marked. Malls from the Eaton Centre downtown to Etobicoke's Sherway Gardens are also open.
It's going to be amazing seeing all people, you know, coming back to mall, and life is going to be all exciting once again.
You'll see health safety measures like directional arrows, but you won't see the technology working behind the scenes.
So essentially what the system will do is send an alert to all of our managers on duty to look at that particular zone to see if possibly we have too many people in the area.
Masks aren't mandatory here or at many restaurants either, and most people were spotted without them.
It's still unsettling, but I guess it'll get back to normal. Just putting our toes into the water, first time.
New cases of the virus continue to trend downwards, but experts warn these newly returned freedoms could be quickly taken away.
The disease still lurks among us, and the thing is that if we're not careful, we can start to see a spike in cases, and then the worst thing in the world would be have to move back in our restrictions again.
That'd be tough to swallow, especially as so many are giddy at today's possibilities.
All you need to have a haircut. That's what we're waiting for. Me and my son.
I just love that. A haircut from a professional. Wouldn't that be nice? Mine is scheduled for next week. And of course, not everything is open in phase 2. There are a lot of important things that are still going to remain closed, including movie theaters and indoor gyms, as well as any sort of large or medium-sized events, including, of course, concerts. Those are not a part of this phase 2 reopening plan. Dwight?
Don't think I will be seeing you at the gym, as I sometimes do, for a while, but we will check back with you a little later in the show. Thank you, Chris.
Sounds good. We'll see you then.
Peel Region also moved into stage 2 today in Brampton. It also means some summer camps will soon be allowed to start up.
Pleased to announce that the City of Brampton will be offering modified summer camps starting July 13th for ages 4 to 10.
Heading into stage 2 is removing restrictions. It is not returning to our old ways.
Brampton will also open its outdoor basketball courts for training on June 26th. Splash pads will open on June 27th, and garage sales are now allowed with a maximum of 10 people. Officials stressing that residents need to continue practicing physical distancing, proper hand hygiene, mask use, and staying home if you are sick. There's one more thing you'll be able to do starting this weekend.
On Saturday, June the 27th, this Saturday, the reopening and resumption of public access to the ferry service, which takes you to the Toronto Island Park, will take place on that day.
The mayor says getting the ferry service back up and running has been a priority. Each year, more than 1 million people visit the islands. To avoid overcrowding, ferry capacity will be cut in half, and there will be a new schedule for crossings. Also, you'll need to purchase a ticket online at the city's website. The number of tickets sold each day will be capped at 5,000. The city is asking all passengers who will be taking the ferry to wear a face covering. And you know, when the weather's like this, it's one of the best places to be in our city over on the islands, Colette.
It is, and you know, just such comfortable weather today, but it can kind of, I mean, I know this was the forecast, but it almost is remember you need maybe a long sleeve, maybe a jacket, you know, you've got to get yourself prepared to have the right wardrobe when we have not just the temperatures kind of knocked back a little bit below seasonal, but a breeze as well and the humidity down. So really a big change we had today. It's just for today because everything kind of turns around again as we look ahead towards Thursday, and then it's really going to be turning around after that as we go into Friday and into the weekend. But this is where we're at right now, where the current temperature is 21, and we don't need to worry about the humidex. 21, what it looks like on the thermometer, this is exactly how it feels in Oshawa at 22 right now, Markham 21, and St. Catharines at 20, and even a little cooler there, Hamilton at 19. But that breeze today, now earlier today we were seeing a lot of those wind gusts even over 55 kilometers an hour, but some of the gusts, the reason you don't see a number here in Hamilton is because it's not even exceeding 30, but you're seeing it over 40 there for Toronto and over 45 for Markham at the moment, and there are still some spotty showers. So for the next couple of hours here this evening, a few showers just in a couple of areas. In most cases, you're talking about dry conditions here around the Golden Horseshoe. So there are a few places you'll worry about that. Otherwise, we are looking at clearing skies through the overnight hours. And then what we do is tomorrow we start off with sunshine because of those clear skies, and then we kind of do it again tomorrow afternoon, where a few areas north shore of Lake Ontario in the GTA and north shore of Lake Erie, we could see some showers kind of creeping up on us. 13 tonight, 25 to 26 tomorrow afternoon. So warming up as soon as tomorrow, Dwight.
Thank you, Colette.
You're welcome.
The weather is brought to you by Trane, the most reliable heating and cooling brand. We test, so it runs. It's hard to stop a train.
At this hour, friends and family are coming together to remember Carolina Chisulo and her 3 young daughters. All 4 were killed when their SUV was struck by another vehicle last Thursday. But almost a week after the crash, a suspect still hasn't been identified and no charges laid. Talia Ricci joins us from the visitation for the family in Brampton. And Talia, it's a drive-up vigil tonight due, of course, to COVID-19 restrictions.
That's right, and we've actually already seen quite a few cars come by, and it looks like police just arrived to help direct traffic. I believe they're expecting quite a few people tonight. There was also a private visitation earlier for family members. Now, the last time we saw a public update from Peel Police or the SIU was on June 19th. And we did hear back from both of them today, but there are no major updates on this investigation. But since the crash, dozens of people have shared photos and the name of who they believe to be the suspect. And so many people are wondering, why don't we know yet? Family and the community are still reeling from the loss of grade 4 teacher Carolina Chisulo and her daughters Clara, Liliana, and Mila.
She was my rock. I leaned on her for everything. She was my younger sister, and I was always so proud of her.
Peel Police say this case is complex and involves an investigation with the SIU, adding that they understand the need for the public and the family to get this information.
We have to look at the perspective of the investigation and the police perspective is that, you know, they can't always just come out and say everything that they know, because it could hurt the investigation, it could hurt court processes down the road.
But this Facebook video that surfaced of what many believe to be the suspect was widely seen and shared, including by Brampton's Mayor Patrick Brown, who last week said the man was driving with a suspended license, didn't have insurance, and has previously been charged with multiple offenses. CBC has not independently verified this. The result was many naming who they believe to be the suspect on social media and wondering why his name wasn't being made public. Lamming said when the SIU is involved, investigations take longer, especially if toxicology reports are involved.
in terms of reputation, trust in police, it's very low right now. And the fact that transparency isn't coming out of this as soon as people would want it to, it's not gonna help the reputation.
The family friend who started a GoFundMe page says right now, loved ones and the father left behind are trying to focus on healing.
In due time, his name will come out. Let that be secondary. Let the anger not consume any of us right now.
And support from the community continues to pour in. The GoFundMe page that Bobby started has raised more than $375,000. Peel Police saying today that when the suspect is charged, they will be notifying the family, and then that information will be shared with the public. They also said that the 20-year-old involved in the crash is still listed in serious condition. The SIU says their investigation is still ongoing. Dwight?
Thank you for that, Talia. A funeral is about to get underway for Ijaz Chowdhury. The Mississauga man was shot and killed by Peel Police over the weekend after his family called for medical help. We will take you there in about 10 minutes. Most of Windsor-Essex will finally enter Stage 2 of reopening tomorrow, but parts of the area are still in Stage 1 and is due to outbreaks on farms. Ontario has announced a new three-point plan to get the COVID-19 crisis in the agricultural sector under control. While some farmers say they are happy about this, those who represent migrant workers say they are enraged. Jason Vio has more.
There are 3 pillars announced today the province believes will help eventually reduce the number of agriculture workers who get COVID-19 and keep farms and the food supply chain operational. It involves expanding COVID-19 testing on farms, which started Saturday. Migrant workers are entitled to WSIB benefits, though advocates say this is not new. But what is new? Agriculture workers who test positive for COVID but show no symptoms can continue to work now. This change in policy came as provincial medical officials are seeing a cluster of positive asymptomatic cases for the first time.
And ask them to work separately from the rest because they're mostly on farms, they're out in large acreage. They can daytime have no problem. They would wear facial covering, of course, and then how the farmer would work to have them sleeping in separate together, away from the rest of the workforce.
Dr. Williams says they would continue to be monitored for symptoms and be retested within 48 hours. But migrant worker advocates say this move is dangerous for those workers and want to see it reversed immediately, especially after 3 migrant workers died of COVID-19 in recent weeks.
It's horrifying what's happening when the Ontario government chooses to respond to death by putting more people in the line of fire. This has not been allowed for anyone else in the country. Why? Because it's not right.
Up until now, 475 agriculture workers have tested positive across 27 farms in Leamington and Kingsville. Most of those are migrant workers.
Whose interest does it serve? I think that's the question we need to ask. Doesn't it serve the workers' interests?
Nature Fresh Farms is a greenhouse that's seen 36 positive COVID-19 cases among staff. 25 showed no symptoms. The CEO calls Ontario's plan fantastic.
We can keep working, we can stay in business, and most importantly, by far, the workers feel safe and comfortable doing what they're doing today.
The Ontario Federation of Agriculture supports this plan as well, saying it will protect agriculture workers, and that's their #1 priority. But the group Migrant Workers Alliance for Change says ultimately the federal government needs to give these migrant workers permanent resident status, which would give them more rights. Jason Vio, CBC News, Windsor.
More than 30 people have died at Toronto's Weston Terrace long-term care home amid the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, the loved ones of one elderly resident who died in April claim staff weren't caring for residents properly long before the virus struck. Lauren Pelly explains.
This home in North York holds fond memories for the Deegan family. It's where their former neighbor Antonietta Residore lived for decades.
I looked at her like a grandmother, so any occasion, birthday, Christmas, whatever it was, she was invited or we were over there.
Residore was simply part of the family and had no immediate family of her own in Canada.
For me, she babysat my kids. She raised...
She for the most part raised us because both of our parents were working.
3 years ago, the Deegan family helped Residore transition from her home to a long-term care facility. They now allege issues at Weston Terrace Care Community started cropping up long before the new coronavirus struck. Residore fell several times last year, the Deegans say, which led them to file a complaint with the ministry. Inspection reports show several non-compliance notices were issued.
We would come in during feeding times and her plates and glasses would be dry, and we'd say, hey, what did she eat today? And they'd say, she already ate, don't worry about it. But there was evidence that that could not be the case.
Residore's former neighbors say she started experiencing COVID-19 symptoms in March. They claim staff at Weston Terrace warned that sending her to a hospital would mean the 92-year-old could lose her private room at the home. Residore was sent eventually before she died in April. A spokesperson for the company running the home says the safety and well-being of residents remains the sole focus, but wouldn't comment on specific cases. So far, 34 people from the home have died, and the outbreak is still going.
People are dying of dehydration.
Dozens of protesters showed up at Queen's Park today, demanding more action for the entire long-term care system.
We have yet to see any actual action happen to address the critical staffing shortages and care shortage in long-term care homes.
Premier Doug Ford says any families with concerns can participate in next month's independent commission.
I want to hear their stories until it never happens again and we never see the pain with the families.
The Deegan family hopes so too. They worry neglect may have cut Residore's life short.
Maybe it was time, but we don't know.
Lauren Pelly, CBC News, Toronto.
Just one day after Major League Baseball approved a plan to start their season, COVID-19 has hit our Toronto Blue Jays. A source confirms to the Canadian press that several players and staff members of the Jays have tested positive. The team has not officially announced the cases. Training camp is supposed to start next week. The Jays shut down their spring training camp complex in Dunedin last week after a player presented coronavirus symptoms. It remains unclear where the Blue Jays plan to hold their training camp and play home games this summer. Well, this woman counts herself one of the lucky ones. 103-year-old Rose Weinstock gave her family a scare when she was diagnosed with COVID-19 earlier this month. Now she has completely recovered. We spoke with Rose and her family about her journey back.
Ma, what was it like having COVID?
I didn't like it.
You didn't like it?
What's it like? it's a nasty thing, and I hope everybody is over it now.
What does it feel like to be home now?
Oh, I'm happy, very happy to be home. They were very nice in the hospital, but I'd rather be here.
People that come out of the hospital for COVID want a beer. Do you want a beer?
No, I don't want a beer even.
Whiskey? Wine?
Oh, I wouldn't mind a glass of wine, yeah. That would be nice.
We just got word that they were, with it, not just releasing her, they were sending her home. They were kicking her out. It all happened so quickly. We couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
You know, we've been hanging on for weeks and weeks, and all of a sudden, it just like it was a torrent. We just couldn't believe how quickly it was happening.
I said, can you keep her till tomorrow? And they said, we want her out now. And that was it.
We're so happy to see Mom. We haven't seen her for months and months. A lot of the family don't know that this has all taken place. So the first thing that we'll do is get everybody and let them know that this has taken place.
I'll be honest, I'm not surprised. I always said she was like the little tin ducks at the exhibition. You shoot and they come right back up, and that's Mom.
She don't take from no one. She's the matriarch of our family.
Oh, yes.
She's the glue that holds it together.
Yeah. What's the family secret to long life?
I get up every day. That's what my secret is.
After the break, we'll take you to Malton for the funeral of Ijaz Chowdhury, the man shot dead by police this weekend. We'll be right back. A public funeral is being held for Ijaz Chowdhury in Mississauga tonight. Chowdhury is the 62-year-old man who was shot and killed by police last week after his family called for medical help. Taylor Simmons is live at Paul Coffey Park where the funeral is taking place. And Taylor, we understand that the event is about to get started there.
Yeah, you can see, I would say hundreds of people are already here taking their place on the grass, getting ready for a prayer to say goodbye to Chowdhury. We've had some speeches start already, just sort of welcoming everyone here, but the event does officially get underway at 6:45. And tonight is all about showing love for the 62-year-old father of four who lost his life on the weekend. And for those who are unfamiliar with the case, it all began on Saturday when Chowdhury's family called a non-emergency line worried for his well-being. He suffered from schizophrenia and other medical conditions. Now, exactly what happened next is still under investigation, but we do know emergency personnel arrived. They noticed he had a knife, and Peel Regional Police were called. They ended up firing into Chowdhury's apartment, and he died on the scene. The event has spurred a number of protests, with family and friends saying he posed no threat, and despite calling for help, their loved one ended up dead. There are calls demanding the firing of the officer who shot Chowdhury. On that, Peel Regional Police have asked for patience as they and the province's watchdog continue their investigations. The family and the community want a public inquiry into the death. There's also been calls for a restructuring of the system when it comes to responding to people in a mental health crisis. Tonight, though, is a time for those close to Chowdhury and to say their goodbyes, to share some memories. We spoke to a local imam who's been in touch with the family since the weekend's events about what he's hoping for tonight.
I think the most important thing I'm hoping for is that his family feel some comfort and they see the support of the community. They were really, so heartbroken the first day after he was killed, and I know that they felt some feeling of took some heart to the fact that people did care about his story and wanted to listen.
Now, Chowdhury's burial will take place tomorrow with just family, but meantime, like I said, the event is just about to get underway, and we're going to have more for you at 11 o'clock and exactly how friends and family are remembering Chowdhury tonight, Dwight.
We will look for your report then. Thank you, Taylor.
And I'm Chris Glover, live along King Street. And look at this, a patio, and it is open. It is packed with people. Coming up after the break, we will tell you what you should and should not know when you are heading out to a patio.
Plenty of glasses being raised tonight at patios across the city. Toronto has officially entered stage 2 of reopening. Chris Glover is live tonight on King West. And Chris, it looks like it didn't take long for that patio to fill up.
No, it didn't, but I did not fill up any of those glasses, didn't drink any of them, but I can tell you, Kia here has had a drink or two. You've been hanging out on this patio for, a couple hours now. Can you tell us, what is it like to be back out in Toronto on a patio in summer?
It honestly does feel great to be back. It's been obviously a long couple of months for everybody. We follow the rules. Hopefully, going into phase 2 now, we can kind of see where things go and progress with the virus. Doug's done a great job so far. So let's see how things go. Let's trust the rules. Let's follow, abide by them, and enjoy ourselves.
Now, the whole thing about this virus is obviously about how it's transmitted and keeping people kind of physically at a distance from each other, wearing masks, things like that. I noticed that you don't have one, your friends don't have one, but you guys are staying far away from the other tables. Can you tell me a little bit about how safe you're feeling being out in the public for probably the first time in a few months? Absolutely.
Safety is number one. I think Archie can touch on that a little bit after I speak here, but they have strict rules that we're following by. Anytime anybody does something which is out of line of what the regulations are, these guys are quickly to jump on to make sure everybody is following those rules. So I personally feel really comfortable, excited to see us get into phase 3 comfortably.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks, Kia. And good segue over here to Archie. Archie is the general manager of this place. So can you tell me, what has it been like to finally have customers at your restaurant?
It's been great. It's been exciting. The anticipation has really built, and we've done our best to prepare. And every day just waiting to see when it's going to happen. And today there was a lot of work that was put into it, and it's great to see the community and the neighborhood come out and support as much as they have. You can see on everyone's faces, they're smiling, they're respecting the rules, and the energy is electric.
Can you tell us, what kind of steps have you guys taken to make sure that people are safe?
Yeah, we've had the health inspector come by and do a walkthrough with us. He's actually been great at informing us of what the rules are. There's kind of maybe a bad rep for some of the attitude of some of the health inspectors normally, but they've been amazing through all this. Anytime you call or have any questions, they walk you through everything and tell you what needs to be done. So we've done our best to go above and beyond what they suggested. We've also taken staff suggestions as well as customer suggestions on what they think would make them feel safe, and we've implemented it all. We have a very open door policy when it comes to things that make the community as well as the staff feel safe, and we've done it.
Okay, and that is obviously the most important thing, is to make sure that as people get back out into the public and into restaurants and onto the patios, that they do feel safe. So of course, these are the kinds of steps that we're hearing at other restaurants across the city that are allowing the outdoor patio dining for the first time, Dwight, in months.
You see the masks there, Chris, but they're not wearing them. They're holding them in their hands. So we'll see if that changes as things go along. Thank you, Chris.
Thanks.
Children can now sign up for camp programs this summer as the city opens registration for the Camp TO program. More than 32,000 registered camp spaces are offered for children between 6 and 12. Registration is now open for parts of the city, with the rest of the programs opening up for registration tomorrow. Camps will start on July 13th. You can sign up through the city's website. It's been months since anyone has been able to get their hair cut by a professional, and now that the city steps into phase 2, barbershops and salons are getting flooded with requests. Our Greg Ross was one of the first to get his hair cut since the pandemic, and as he found out, a lot has changed.
I know a lot of us are in the same boat. It has been 5 months since I've had a real haircut, and I'm not talking about one of those DIY at-home haircuts that a lot of us have done. Oh, I just about cut my ear off there. And now that we've moved into phase 2, I can actually get this mess on top of my head cut. But a lot has changed since the last time I've had a haircut. For instance, masks. We didn't have to wear masks the last time I got my haircut. We have to wear them now. Let's try that again. All right, here we go. So this is Ernesto DeMonico from Salon Solis, and you're gonna cut my hair today. And I see you are also wearing a mask and a face shield.
Yes, mandatory now with public health, and this pandemic is still going on. It's part of the requirements.
All right, well, let's do this. When they made the announcement last week that we were going to be moving into phase 2, have you had a lot of People calling saying they need to get in to get a haircut?
Today being the first day, where the phones are going crazy. We're just booking all our appointments and trying to get as many people as we can.
I was pretty short before. Maybe we could try something a little different this time.
Okay, so just style it up. Okay, the Mohawk's making a comeback.
Yeah, I can't pull that off.
How about the old greasers look, 1950s?
James Dean, eat your
James
heart
Dean. Okay, I call this the comb over.
Kind of a George McFly kind of thing going on over here. Why don't we just kind of go with what I normally have had over the
Sure,
years?
of course, yes.
The reporter haircut.
Yes, of course. Okay.
So how long have you been cutting hair for?
Well, I've been cutting hair, only hair, for over 31 years now.
Has that been a problem for you? I mean, not having a lot of income over the last 3 months to keep this place afloat and pay the rent?
You know, we have to think we've had a good landlord who's been very understanding with the current circumstances. And we've been here so long, I don't think he wants to lose us, so he's very flexible. He knows we're a viable business.
Do you think a lot of people who do what you do are going to be struggling to get back into business because of the layoff?
Yes, I think a lot of salons have already closed. There's been a huge shift in our industry. A lot of it has gone also underground now.
Okay.
So you ready for the big reveal?
I'm ready. What did I do? No, I'm just kidding. Ta-da!
Back to normal.
That actually looks so much neater. That's gonna be so much easier to manage. It's like the good old days back in March. But here we go. I'm a new man. All right.
Looking good. Where's Colette? I was going to say Colette before you even put that picture up. I have noticed, how do we say, like a migration of color across North America for a lot of hosts and television personalities. Like, there's this color thing happening. Maybe you're going to help explain that with that picture.
I feel like, I guess it's the older I get, the less I care what I show on TV or whatever. And I didn't know how much gray I had, right? But a pandemic showed me that's what it was. And I had another picture to show you. Maybe we'll see if there's time at the end of the show. If there's not, whatever. But there's the before, and here it is. It's a miracle.
Looking good.
It's a miracle. It is gone. First person in the chair early this morning before my work day started. Yeah, can you believe that? Yeah, bless their hearts. Bless their hearts. Here we are. Yeah, let's get rid of that. I don't want to see it again. Let's look at this instead. Our current temperatures that we have out there, much more comfortable, isn't it? 21 degrees right now in Toronto, 22 in Oshawa, Peterborough only at 18. We have teens as well in Hamilton. And it's not just the temperatures, it's been the winds, the breeze out of the west, and our humidex values. I'm just showing this really to prove a point, which is that we don't have a humidex to deal with. For a change, don't worry, it'll be back. We are into summertime. Now we do have a few little spotty showers, of course, that have been showing up on us. And it's really only about another hour yet that we'll be seeing these. And then this kind of clears out through the overnight. We get into clear skies. We start off with sunshine tomorrow, but then into tomorrow afternoon, see a little bit bubbling up. The chances there for the north shore of Lake Ontario and a greater risk there along the north shore of Lake Erie. And then we go into Friday with high pressure, beautiful sunshine that we're going to be experiencing, and the temperature warming up even further. So it comes up a few degrees tomorrow. What I mean by that is highs around 25 to 26. You'll notice it though on Friday. Sunshine, 29, kind of like patio weather, right? Saturday, a chance of some showers. Sunday, 28. The heat's coming right back at us, Dwight.
Just in time for the weekend. Thank you, Colette.
You're welcome.
A public meeting is being held tonight for a project that would transform an empty West End lot into modular housing for low-income or homeless residents. Construction is slated to start soon at the site near Dundas West and Dovercourt. But as Farah Morelli tells us, some living in the area say the project was pushed through too quickly, and they want the city to hit the pause button.
This lot at 150 Harrison has sat empty since the old Toronto Police 14 Division moved more than 7 years ago. Now, the city plans to transform the space from this into something like this.
Assembling temporary modular housing on city-owned land is a strong step forward.
Modular housing, similar to this project in Vancouver. The site would house 44 bachelor suites for low-income or homeless residents looking to transition to permanent housing. The city initially put out a request for proposals for the parcel of land.
Because of the location is so good and the size, and there are a number of aspects that make it perfect for potentially modular housing, we decided to shift gears.
The new plan is moving ahead fast. It was approved by council in April, with tenants moving in as early as this fall.
There's been no community consultation.
It's all moved a little too quickly for these residents who thought the site would be housing families. Michael Smeal and Gustavo Jabaz say it's not who's moving in they take issue with, but rather the process.
It's happening so quickly, and the councillors aren't providing any information with how this is going to be run.
I was pretty shocked. And I started asking around to my neighbors, and people start feeling the same way.
There's no question that is moving fast.
Area Councillor Anna Bilo acknowledges the process has been expedited, but that's because of COVID.
We have 8,000 people that are sleeping either on the street, on our shelters that need physical distancing. We know that congregate living is one of the hot spots for the spread of the COVID. And we had to move fast on many, many fronts.
And some neighbors are embracing it.
I think it's a great idea. I think that as someone who has a house and lives in a house, I don't have the privilege to talk about other people who don't, so I want that for people.
The public will have a chance to weigh in on the specifics of this project in a meeting tonight, but as for the transformation of this lot into modular housing, well, that will be moving full steam ahead. Farah Morelli, CBC News, Toronto.
Toronto police are asking for the public's help to identify a woman found dead near Trinity Bellwoods Park 2 weeks ago.
The female's lifestyle circumstances are unknown at this time. She may have been recently transient from another city, or another possible scenario could be that she was confused, disoriented, thus leaving her home going unnoticed. We're asking that anyone that may have had interaction with her and may have had a conversation where she may have given a name, possibly a first name or a nickname, I ask that you call police.
She was found dead on a sleeping bag in the grass on the corner of Dundas and Crawford in the early hours of June 10th. Trinity Bellwoods Park was busy the day before, and police are hoping that someone recognizes the woman from this artist's rendering. They've also released pictures of her clothing and her sleeping bag. She doesn't match any missing person profiles in our city. Investigators add her death isn't considered suspicious. When we come back, the internal fight against anti-black racism at the Ontario Public Service.
Concerns which these lawyers raise, they have been concerns for quite a long time.
Lawyers who work for the Ontario Public Service are speaking out against what they say is countless instances of anti-Black and anti-Indigenous racism on the job. A letter signed by 45 lawyers who work in the Civil Law Division of the Ministry of the Attorney General outlines incidents of racial discrimination. CBC obtained the letter and requested interviews with the lawyers. None has responded. Osborne Barnwell is a Toronto lawyer with his own private firm, but he has worked with public servants on cases of anti-Black racism. He's here to share his thoughts on the matter. So, Osborne, let's start with what is in this letter and what was your reaction to reading it?
Well, quite frankly, I was flabbergasted by it and was indeed encouraged. And I noted that the concerns which these lawyers raise, they have been concerns for quite a long time.
Could we talk about what is at stake for these lawyers to come forward to their employer like this?
Dwight, I sincerely believe that the groundswell, the way things have been going, the marches that we have seen on our television sets, the international, I call it an uprising. I sincerely believe that these lawyers, their conscience got to them. I believe they were also encouraged by the fact that now it is well established, it's well known, it's well accepted. Even the Prime Minister of Canada, in June 11, 2020, was quite adamant and unequivocal about, the systemic racism that exists in every institution in this country. And I believe all of those things, work towards these lawyers finally saying they can no longer be silent. And I think that is where a lot of us locate now, that we can no longer tolerate, what I always say, this denigrative, mental health crippling, anti-Black racism that exists in our systems. And I think that is what encouraged them to do this.
Let's finish with this. Osborne, a spokesperson for the Ministry of the Attorney General, told CBC the ministry is thanking them for their bravery and is fully committed to addressing systemic racism. How hopeful are you, somebody that's been fighting in this system all these years, how hopeful are you that things will change for them?
Dwight, I should tell you that this is a moment that I am happy to be alive, and so I am extremely hopeful. For all those years, no one cared to listen. Yes, we accepted that anti-Black racism existed, but perchance no one was guilty of it.
Osborne, you've been doing this work for 2 decades now, and we appreciate your efforts, sir. Osborne Barnwell is a Toronto lawyer with his own private firm, but he has worked with the public servants on cases of anti-Black racism. We appreciate your efforts and your time this evening, Osborne. Thank you.
Not at all. I'm happy to be here. Thanks.
After the break, I speak with Canadian singer-songwriter William Prince about Community Cares, a day of programming by CBC Toronto in support of local food banks.
We need to care more about our communities. That's what's going to restore humanity and take care and prolong our time here on this planet.
Go ahead, be a scientist. Start a band with your best friends. Be the muscle with a phony list. Change some oil, burn your wrist. Stay home, raise a family. Go teach gym overseas. I'll love you for whatever it is. Just don't let a day go wasted.
That is William Prince sharing a song he wrote for his son. The special performance was part of Community Cares, a day of programming by CBC Toronto in support of local food banks. In a minute, you'll hear my interview with William Prince, but we want to talk to you about the reason we decided to do Community Cares and why William and so many others are pitching in to help. With the COVID-19 shutdown, it's been hard for a few months now for many in our community. A lot of people have come to rely on food banks to help put meals on the table. Last month, Daily Bread's member food banks saw 36% more visits than they did this past February. They need support, and you can help. Call the Daily Bread Food Bank. The number is on your screen. We'll put it up for you. You can also donate online. Find out how. cbc.ca/community cares. William Prince would have been on tour if not for the COVID-19 shutdown. He released his album Reliever a few months ago. Well, last week it earned a spot on the Polaris long list. I reached him in his Winnipeg home to talk about his recent work and why he felt it was important to lend his voice to Community Cares.
Oh, it's what artists do. You know, we contribute the things that we can, and when I think of, truthfully, there was actually a time in my life where I needed the food bank before all of this, I guess, this comfort, this privilege of comfort that I now get to experience. I'm still only a couple hours from the reservation where people deal with health issues and food issues, affording food, all those things. So it's just one of those natural things that's great for your karma, your soul to help out and be a part. And if I can sing a song and lend to that, why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you do that?
Yeah, if you've experienced food insecurity yourself, you know what people are going through.
Yes.
In the introduction to one of your songs you recorded for Community Cares, you said, "These are very interesting, trying, and revealing times." What has been revealed to you in the last few months as we deal with this?
Oh, you know, things I've always felt. We're achieving clarity in what's important. Our health, you know, our very well-being in those senses. Our families, being home with our children, connecting that way, where we long and see that we do miss human connection. And all of a sudden, I'm learning how to use Zoom and all these different, you know, online applications, and shaking the insecurity to sing to people through my phone now. And I was thinking about our effects on the environment, our the way we are, you know, commuting and stuff. It's been one positive thing is seeing the changes that less human presence has been making, and that the things can change where working from home is positive. We trust that good work can be done on focused, you know, adult time, you know, like trusting that the world still operates that way. And I've been liking that a lot.
One of the songs you sang for Community Cares was Wasted, and it's a song you wrote for your son. Why did you think that message of that song might be particularly relevant at this time?
You know, being here with nothing more to do than the thing I do has left me, you know, I still feel satisfied. I'm still accomplished in what I do. I still feel proud of the work I'm doing. And so I talk about this in my show, how I wish that for everybody, especially my son and any children to come, my nieces, you know, in this life, finding careers and things to do that provide, that feel fulfilling, and that it's not really a job. It's about that thing that, I don't know, makes you feel fulfilled.
Yeah, I mean, the song says, you know, finding something you love to do every day so you feel fulfilled by it. don't want a day to go wasted. I don't have the baritone to sing it like you do, but it is a beautiful message, and we really appreciate you taking part in these efforts to help the community during this difficult time, Mr. Prince.
Oh, my pleasure. It's my community that I care about too. I think about the Peguas First Nation and everybody here in Winnipeg that I care about. The musical community taking a major hit right now, and of course, thinking of our relations, our brothers. Black Lives Matter right now. When I think about that, you can't wait. It almost feels selfish to talk about anything but that. But my eye is there. Our family's awareness is there. It's been opening up conversation, and we need to care more about our communities. That's what's gonna restore humanity and take care and prolong our time here on this planet.
And that message is the perfect way to end this interview. And thank you for your songs and your stories and your words and your caring about all our communities. Thank you, William.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
Colin, he reminds me of one of my mom's favorites, Johnny Cash. He's got a voice and he can write too. Great Canadian singer there. Now, the heat is back.
Yeah, it's coming back. We got like a real reprieve today, but it starts coming back tomorrow. I mean, not really, but temperatures go up a couple of degrees, and then we really begin feeling it as soon as Friday. Here, a few little spotty showers are already starting to weaken and die off here as the sun sets. They'll be gone overnight. We get clear skies, 13 degrees, the temperature overnight, and then tomorrow into the afternoon. So sunshine early and quiet, dry conditions, although still a little breezy, those winds from the west. Into the afternoon, though, some scattered showers, and we'll see about 26 degrees Friday, sunny. By then, Dwight, we're headed up to 29 degrees, so the heat will be back.
Thank you, Colette.
You're welcome.
That is our show for tonight. Thank you for joining us. Mike Wise has you covered at 11 after the National. We'll leave you with more of William Prince from Community Cares Day at CBC Toronto.
For that jingle jangle, 'cause we only get a few days. Nobody makes it out of here anyway. Puts a shuffle in your shoes, babe. That's the thing worth chasing. Gotta love what you do, babe. So not a day goes wasted. Don't wanna let a day go wasted.